Hello, Primals. Today I have the topic of imagining qualities of feminine women. And I want to start out with a quote here. But first, I want to also encourage people to check out my website at regalchange.com and then also any of the Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, all of those. The handle is Regal Change. Now, with that being said, the quote is from a sage named Osho, and I understand there's a lot of controversy around this man. However, I do think what he has to say here is very important for this topic. He says, "Women are not meant to be understood; they are meant to be loved." Now, with that being said, there are 6 qualities of feminine women that I want to talk about, and I'll give them right off the bat. But then I'll go through and give examples and stories for each one. So the first one, the first quality is intuition. The second one is lacking bitterness. The third is smiling and warmth. Number 4 is not promiscuous. Number 5 is knowing how to vet men and be selective with people in general. And then 6 is she takes responsibility for how she feels. So number 1, intuition. The reason that this is the first on the list is because women are incredibly intuitive people. It's really beautiful to watch a woman that is completely in her feminine, that is telling the truth through her intuition and is letting her intuition guide her. There is there's almost nothing more attractive to a man than seeing a woman like that, who is a beautiful woman and also very intuitive. And because an intuition is a byproduct of, well, confidence, self-care, self-understanding, and self-awareness. So intuition is going to be number 1 on a lot of men's lists, even if they're not completely aware of it. But again, the beauty of intuition is in the flow of social conversations, and women have this natural ability to know how and what people need based off of their intuition when they're completely in their feminine frame. Well, maybe not feminine frame, but feminine zone, let's say. But number 2, the lacking bitterness. This is a huge one for men because this is also something I've noticed, because I've talked to women that are older than me, and I've talked to women that are younger than me. I've talked to women that are like my own age. And I can tell you guys, so I'm 26, and the women that are older than me, uh, generally, I haven't had a lot of success. The reason being, I think, is because there was just like, it wasn't like she was trying to treat me like a child, but there was a overwhelming abundance of like bitterness to the older woman. And I'm not trying to diss older women like than 26 at all, because they can be very great people. But in my experience, I haven't met a lot of people that are older than, well, a lot of women that are older than me that are not as bitter, or that are less bitter than younger women. And I think that's just a lot of doing what, like, a lot of that just has to do with experience. And I know that, I mean, the truth is that a woman that is older, let's say like older than 26, likely has gone through a lot more boyfriends, or maybe has had even a marriage and divorced. Like, there's a lot of potential baggage there that I don't think is very attractive to a lot of men and women. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. And so, lacking bitterness and being non-competitive with the man that she is with. Now, obviously, like, if you're playing board games, that's completely different, right? Like, if you're playing a game of some kind, like for me, it's what stays in the game, right? But if you're actually in life trying to compete with with the guy that you're with, women, that he's not going to stick around. And I know because I didn't stick around for those women that were trying to compete with me. It was just not fun. It was just very, to the men, it's very emasculating. I'll tell you that, women. It's very emasculating to try to always constantly compete. And it's very, when you come across as masculine to a guy that actually has self-respect and self-understanding and awareness, it's not going to be attractive. But it's going to be attractive to the guy that doesn't have self-esteem. It's going to be attractive to the guy that doesn't have confidence. Why? Because he doesn't have those, like, he doesn't have those qualities that you seem to have. But I digress a little bit. That's just not going to work though. So lacking bitterness, this is something that I found with younger women, and I've talked to women that are 5 years younger than me, roughly, and they are so much more down to earth in my experience. They are so much more jolly and so much more happy with their lives, like, in general. Like, they have like, obviously they're approaching their peak as a woman of beauty, right? Like, that is really, I know a lot of women don't want to hear this, but a lot of the times women between like 18 to 24, in my experience, have their pinnacle of their value in the dating market. And so when you get to older, like when you're older and you have a bitterness to you, and you're expecting to find a guy that is willing to not only going to meet your standards, but also is going to look at you as a feminine woman that could mother his children potentially, good luck. So lacking bitterness is really important in a feminine woman. Also, number 3, so smiling and warmth. Now, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but a lot of the customer service and like restaurant businesses and just customer service in general seems to have like declined over the last couple of years. I don't know if it was just like the pandemic or what, but it just seems like there's not as many smiles going around. And more often than not, these people have the colored hair. They have like the big glasses, that they're usually overweight, and I'm just describing these people, right? I'm describing a general population. I'm not making any judgments per se. This is just an observation. And it just seems to me that when you combine a lack of warmth with customer service, the businesses usually do worse. Who'd have thought, right? But it's just not a fun experience for many people. And I think that's one of the reasons why like takeout and like DoorDash and all of those kinds of things has been super on the up since the pandemic, is because people don't want to deal with those kinds of people. Like, why would you want to deal with those kinds of people that are not smiling and not warm with you and not welcoming? But yeah, I mean, for a woman in general, smiling and warmth, do you know how awesome it is to like you don't even need to say anything, women. Like, if your man can come home and he sees you smiling, that's enough. Like, that's enough, right? Like, he doesn't need you to talk about things. He doesn't need you to talk about things all the time. And I know I could probably get some slack for this, but it's true. Like, you don't need to talk. Like, you just don't. And a smile and a nice warm hug, that is beautiful right there. That is beautiful. That is so good. That is so good. I don't think women understand the value of that smile sometimes. So, moving on to number 4 is not promiscuous. I also don't think women understand how important it is for guys to trust that the women that they are with is not with other guys. And I will say right now that any polyamorous or like anti-monogamous relationship, I don't agree with that at all. I think if you're a guy and you're letting you're letting your girlfriend or whatever do do other guys or share, I just don't I don't see you as a guy I would trust personally. Like I don't see you as a guy that I would want to be around. Why? Because if you put up with that, and how are you going to know that you're going to be the father of that woman's child? And how could you possibly go around town and look another guy in the eye that has been intimate with your girl? Ew. That's all I have to say. Hell no. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen with me. And if it does, then I'm gone. I'm gone. And I understand that women have a very similar expectation for men in monogamous relationships where a man is expected to not cheat, right? Or not have multiple women, but I understand also that the loyalty of a man is more expensive than, well, actually, maybe not more expensive. It's there's less opportunities for a man to commit than to a woman to commit, because a woman, let's face it, women nowadays, you women get you can get so many different kinds of men coming your way, right? But why do you reject or not pay attention to 80% of them, or roughly speaking? Why? Because they either said something super weird, they maybe not have the right looks for you, they don't have the right taste that you're looking for, they maybe are not making as much money as you want. But there's a lot of different factors, right? And attraction for women is so much different for attraction to men. Like at the end of the, like, I know people may not agree with this, but it's so true. Women's value is mostly, first of all, based on her beauty for two men. Because if men, men can look at a woman, like if you take a group of men and you set a woman in front of them, and they can usually agree whether or not she's objectively attractive. You do that for a guy, unless he is like unless he's like Brad Pitt or Channing Tatum or whatever like celebrity, it's not gonna fit. Like what's gonna fit is whether he has status, whether he has resources, and whether he has money usually. And looks is a big part of that as well, but in my experience, I have not seen anything remotely come close to looks, like the importance of looks to men compared to the importance of looks to women. So, with that being said, moving on to number 5, which is knowing how to vet men and be selective. Oof. So this also translates to not taking people and not taking herself for granted. If I've met a woman, here, ladies, here's how a man will find you attractive. If you are if you are an innocent person, like truly innocent to some degree, and like you don't like to party, you don't like to drink a lot, you don't like to smoke, you like to keep to yourself and do things on your own, or you have your own hobbies or own interests in outside of like whatever you're doing, career isn't your main focus. Oh man, like, because that is going to turn on a guy. I know that sounds crazy to some women out there because that's just so anti to what you've been told, but it's so true. Men men want more. Men would rather have innocence than anything in regards to like and the girl being selective, because that means that when the girl actually allows for that kind of intimacy to happen, he knows that she's not doing that with every single guy. And vice versa, right? Like this goes for the guys too. Like if a guy has integrity and he's not, let's just be real, if he's not sticking it everywhere and anywhere, obviously his market value is going to go up in the dating market, right? Like it's a byproduct of attention as well. So a woman that knows how to vet, and remember, vet means to just understand like what are good qualities in a guy. When a woman knows how to do that, and she's not going to just give up the goods super easily, wow, like that's a turn on for a guy. So women take note of that. And also number 6 is she takes responsibility for how she feels. Now I understand a lot of people out there, a lot of women would say that they have what they call resting bitch face. I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe in that shit at all. Reason being is because I don't think a resting bitch face is neither stoic nor emotive. And like usually those people with a resting bitch face, excuse me. Yeah, I know I'm swearing a lot too. I don't like to swear on my channel usually, but for this topic I'm going to. So resting bitch face is really a byproduct of someone having a spiritual void. And the spiritual void is definitely it's definitely apparent in these women that do not know how to take responsibility for themselves and how they feel. And it's just so unattractive. Like if you're dodging questions or dodging bullets, like how is the rest of the relationship going to be if you're doing that now? Imagine 5 or 10 years from now. What a headache, at least in the guy's perspective. And like, you can be stoic and not have a resting bitch face, in my experience. And I think a resting bitch face is just an excuse for women to be lazy and women to be bitter. And it's just not going to help your situation. So when a woman can take responsibility for how she feels, she has accountability, that is going to be a huge bonus for any guy out there. And so with that being said, I hope this message was informative and useful. And till next time, may peace be with you.